This is your space with your host, Hannah Arinitwe. Thank you so much for joining us on another episode right here on UBC. Now, with me today in studio, I do have fantastic ladies, fantastic women. In fact, I'm quite excited that today the gender balance is not balancing, but we shall still move on. I'm going to allow the ladies right over here to introduce themselves, and then we'll be moving forward. Hello and welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I'm Nabia Sharon, and I'm under the Pan-African Women's Organization and serving as the coordinator institutions. Thank you very much for hosting me today.
Thank you so much for being here, Sharon. Hello and welcome to the show.
Thanks. I'm Irene Indinomurani, and I'm an electrical student at Makerere University and also serving as a speaker, Pan-African Women Organization, MAC chapter.
Lovely. We have very powerful ladies here. Welcome to the show again, Dr. Patricia. It's been a while.
Thank you very much, Hannah. I am Patricia Chano Kiria, Deputy Inspector General of Government. I'm very happy to be part of this panel today. I'm also happy to see the new faces who have joined us from the Pan-African Women Parliament. Yes. You are welcome.
Thank you.
Now, today we're going to be having quite a fantastic conversation around how to change from within, especially when it comes to the fight against corruption. Most times we point fingers at the people outside, forgetting that three fingers are pointing back at you and I. Now, I think I'll start with Sharon right over here. Sharon, what does change from within mean to you?
Basically, regarding to my sector of Pan-Africanism, when they talk about, to me, when they talk about change within you, it begins, you have to point a finger at yourself first. Look around your area. What are those key factors that are hindering you from maybe establishing something or hindering you from doing something? And then since we are looking about at corruption, yes, this is the topic of today. Yes, what is that thing that is hindering you from maybe letting off the corruption item or idea not work, failing to work out, or what is it what is that idea that is making people being corrupt? So it is yourself as an African, make sure you at least have those elements of hindering or making that thing not work out. Basically I could talk about maybe having transparency as a leader, because most leaders have failed to have the transparency personality, and corruption has actually at least prevailed due to the limitations of having that idea. Transparency, and maybe having the limit of the unity amongst our leaders. So the element of unity has at least made it difficult for us to erase the corruption thing. Because if I'm not united with my fellow leader, then it will actually not work out, because I will have to do my things in my own space, so that I cannot let my person at least have the idea about what I'm doing, so that I can push the ideas which aren't right. Because recently, as in regards to ladies, because I also term sexual harassment as a corruption item. Because ladies have actually gone to offices, and what have they done? They've always told me, please do ABCD in order to get a job. And actually that is some corruption thing that has to be worked upon. So I believe as Pan-African Women's Organization, we have to at least advocate for such things, like sexual harassment, which is the corruption item. So it begins with us leaders. Let's advocate for that, because change within begins with you. Advocating for that, talking about that, so at least it is able to be talked upon and worked upon.
Definitely. I love how you've really given us a broad explanation from your point of view. What about you, Irene? What does change from within look like for you?
Thanks, Anna. For change within, for example, if I'm to bring up this idea, because if you have to change, you have to begin by yourself. It begins by you, it begins by me. So change within, it means bringing up a positive impact into yourself, making sure that you bring up the good side from yourself in order to fight against corruption. Because corruption has brought a lot of deterioration in our progress.
It does.
It has brought a lot of disservice. Most of our colleagues are suffering because of what? Of corruption. For example, if I'm to take an example, when you look into the Pan-Africanist, our leaders, Thomas Sankara, he was able to fight against corruption by putting up very, very hard rules. For example, a minister was not allowed to take an airplane flight that was economic, that was standard. Okay, they were supposed to take economic in order to save more money for the people who were suffering. But right now, if you are to look through our economy, most ministers are working hard for themselves, leaving us the people who are very low to suffer. So for that case, we must begin by ourselves. Corruption, to fight against corruption, it has to begin by you, but not by another person.
Thank you. I love the very broad conversation we are having here. Dr. Patricia, I think maybe I would like to know from you if you've ever thought of aspects like even sexual harassment, like Sharon has shared with us, as babies of corruption, especially in our workplaces.
Well, when you look at sexual harassment, it's one of those factors which is really affecting, especially the growth and development of women, especially in position of responsibility. But now when we talk about change from within, I want to agree with what Sharon says. Change from within means you have to take a deliberate approach and know that it starts with me. Just like when we talk about issues of accountability, it starts from me. I will not allow myself to be harassed or used by anybody. If we can agree and take a stand, especially as young people, then we basically go against that. So we internally, we have got laws, we have got institutions, we have got policies, we have got very good strategies. So we now need to change the human component. The human being who implements these laws, policies, and strategies needs to change his mindset, because that is where corruption starts from. In the process of implementing the laws, if I do not have integrity, then I can manipulate the legal system to favor me. Like she has said, given the example of some ministers. So when the implementer of the laws need to work on issues to do with changing themselves. So when we talk about the mindset change, it should be a thing that cuts across the board, from the top leadership to the grassroots. So I think the values, integrity needs to be inculcated. When we talk about the national values, someone who has integrity would not be harassing another person's child and saying, you've got to first do carpet interviews before I can give you a place for internship or give you or consider you for a job or something. So I think that is what we need to be preaching out there. If we talk about the change from within, then the human component needs to be dealt with. And that has got to do with inculcating these values and principles into ourselves, so that we preach and walk the talk. You don't just say, do as I say, but not as I do. So I think it is very, very important. If we are to drive that change from within to combat corruption, it is both strategic and it is also essential, because we have to have an approach that emphasizes the importance of the internal commitments within we ourselves as leaders, and then also the cultural sensitivity of the issues and grassroots involvement. So that means we need to then prepare and strategize and have to identify the change agents. Like previously, I talked about the young people being the heartbeat of this nation and how they can drive this anti-corruption war. They are change agents. So if we can empower them with knowledge, with skills, so that they can come out to demand for accountability from an informed perspective, if we can have dialogue, then there's so many ideas we can get in driving this change within we're talking about. And we will definitely begin to see this mindset change we have been talking about.
That's true. Mindset change. And I've come to realize that sometimes what blocks us from the fight against corruption as young people comes from our own personal biases and our own personal assumptions. Biases like, if I do not do Chintu Chidogo, then I won't be able to get this position. If I do not embezzle this amount of money, I will not be able to become, like, we have those sorts of assumptions and biases. And I think I'll start with you, Irene. How best can anybody who is watching and listening right now be able to challenge such negative biases, such negative assumptions when it comes to corruption?
Thank you very much. For that case, I'll start by somebody having self-esteem. I think if you have self-esteem, it's very key. You believe in yourself that you can do that, you can get that without going through other ways of paying money, and also going through other small ways, paying shidogo, and also loving what you do. I don't know, but if someone, for example, if I'm going for an internship place, I'm applying for internship, and I know I love something so much, and if I have passion, obviously I will show it in my application letter that I do have passion for the internship job I'm applying for, and obviously the person who will see will know, yeah, I do have a passion.
Sometimes it doesn't work. Like, sometimes you have the passion, you have written, but they don't choose you. What then in that situation? There's this young person who is there. Yes, you have written the passion, you have gone through, but they haven't chosen you. Now you feel like you must go behind closed doors and do something to push that. What happens in that perspective, Sharon? I'll ask you because I believe you're finished internship, right? So from your experience, how best can somebody overcome such a situation?
To me, it's you have to have that element of self-awareness that I'm capable. Sometimes we push for those bigger spaces, but I'm not worth a place where I'm harassed to get into that place. I believe I'm a little bit of a Christian, and at some point I'm actually heavily a Christian. And sometimes I believe that we are not worth those small petty things to go in the back doors to get what we want. Have that self-belief and worthiness that I can get there. It begins small. Me getting to UBC, I can start with some upcoming. I have my different colleagues who have upcoming TV stations, radio stations. Start there. Don't push to those bigger spaces where they're going to harass you. And it is actually shocking that people who begin small end up in those bigger spaces without going through the sexual harassment ideas, and maybe actions. So to me, to the young people out there, please don't go for those things. Try out to at least make sure you start small and reach out to those bigger spaces. I believe our beloved IGG, the guest here, could at least tell us. She's a very big, at least big figure in Uganda, and at least she can give some story on how best she got there. It wasn't through the
Yes. We're going to come to that. But also another thing I've come to realize is that if it's meant to be yours, it is meant to be yours. If you have, yes, gone through this whole entire process and it hasn't come to you, don't worry. God is preparing something better for you. Let's go in for a deep short break. We'll be right back. Welcome back from that mini break. You are still on Your Space with your host, Hannah Arinito. And with me in studio, I have a fantastic group of ladies, and we're just having conversation around change from within and how that can reflect in the fight against corruption in our day-to-day lives as young people. Now, before we went in for the break, Sharon did ask Mr. Patricia to share maybe from your experience, that process, the process before the actual shine, and how as young people we should refrain from using back doors to hit the shine.
Thank you very much, Hannah. Very interesting question. But I think it's important for young people, like Sharon has said, to believe in themselves. Because when you believe in yourself, then you're encouraged to work hard because you want to improve and better this self of yours. You have to work hard because life out there is very, very competitive. And working hard means going the extra mile, paying attention to detail, reading like you've never read before. Even if it means doing exercise like you've never exercised before. Strive to be better than you were yesterday. Because when you work hard, that hard work will really, really pay. And then you've got to have discipline, self-discipline, and then you've got to be determined, have that determination to get to where you want to be. Because when you have that determination, then you'll keep encouraging yourself. If it's a leader you want to be, then you will begin leadership development by reading books, widening your knowledge base, improving every aspect of your life, and training yourself in that direction. And before you know it, you will surely be there. You've got to equip yourself with knowledge, hands-on knowledge, to help you fit into this challenging work. And when you do this challenging world, and when you do leadership development, you realize that you can be able to advocate for ethical behavior. You will know that when I work and stand out with distinctiveness and integrity, I'll be a different person out there. Distinctiveness, how do you make yourself different? How do you strive to be better than the best?
Yeah.
So for young people out there, I know there are so many best people, but how can you be better than the best? Hard work, discipline, determination, resilience. It doesn't just come on a silver plate. You've got to work hard and work towards the goal. Because even Cheptegei trains in order to get those medals and gold he brought to our country and put our country on the map. So who are you who thinks you're going to just sleep and wake up and have it on a silver platter? You've got to wake up early. You've got to work hard. You've got to invest in this time and do some serious work. So if you want to be that change, the change begins with you in order for you to see or realize or get to see the change we are talking about. So it's very, very important, and also to encourage open dialogue about the challenges you're going through, about some of these issues we are discussing at hand, corruption and its impact. A transparent environment basically would help you as a young person out there to be able to navigate and get solutions to some of the problems we have in our country today. Yes. Definitely. And sharing success stories. For me, this has worked very well for me. When I share my success stories or listen to other people's stories, I get inspired. I get to be encouraged. When I share mine, I get to inspire other people and encourage them always. So when we highlight examples of what we have handled successfully, even in the fight against corruption, even in our career path, different achievements we have scored, it basically encourages and inspires people out there. So it's very, very encouraging to listen to success stories from others and also to celebrate victories. I mean, if you are the best in class, it's important to come out and celebrate that victory and know that, yes, I have done this with God's help. No matter how small, it will reinforce the commitment to the change you want to see in your life. When you celebrate victory, you know that now that I was victorious today, then there are more victories coming my way. You begin to work towards that with the discipline, determination, resilience, the fear of the Lord. Because the Bible says, by the way, in Proverbs 9:10, that the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. And when you fear the Lord, you will value these values and principles we are talking about. Because when you go against them, then it is sin. Corruption is sin. When you teach, when you tell lies out there or cheat other people or take a bribe, those are basically sins. So we then begin to advocate for the values and principles which basically help us to coexist in the community. Thank you.
Yes. I'll come to you, Sharon. Now we're coming into the practicality of everything we're having conversation about. So what skills and knowledge are essential for internal fight against corruption? Like what skills, what knowledge should we have as young people in order for us to promote anti-corruption?
Well, I would like to communicate, corruption begins way back from home. Why? Because way back in secondary school, we had students when it is time for VD, and the parents try to put the food. They don't allow food in school, but so they try to put it. Maybe they put the hard cones there. So meaning that is a way of trying to train a student corruption. So when you really want to fight corruption, let parents try to groom these young people from the youngest stage that this is bad. Be genuine. To me, being a genuine person at some point really, really helps you a lot. You could be training a thief, you really don't know, out of those small petty things.
So they call it, but this is, they call it street smart. That you're teaching your child how to be street smart. You know, I don't know, that's actually not right. You know, street smart.
That's really not right, because these people turn out to be very corporate thieves. Because we've had people put on suits and they're really using some good IT stuff to work out some things. But when we go back to anti-corruption, fighting corruption, please as we leaders, the young leaders of today, she spoke of at least telling the success stories that will inspire these young people. When I actually listened to our beloved, actually the Secretary General, she gave a little brief story on how best she at least maneuvered to get where she is. Okay. Trust me, it really pushed me to at least work hard and at least get there. It could be to a point, not a point where she is, but at least when I get there, she'll be happy. And at least she has tried to mentor me in different areas. But to me, let's really pick something from those success stories. We've had challenges, different programs have been put in the different institutions. Students don't turn up. So at some point, it's really complicated to at least inspire the different people to attend those dialogues. Because now a student will be inspired to come and listen to a musician, but is not capable to come and listen to a different intellectual who is talking about corruption and its negative impacts.
The priorities.
So the priorities are kind of different. If we, the young people, could at least prioritize the things that will develop us as young people, and at least sideline these other things that are a little bit quite additional to our lives. And this could really help us out, because we are the engine of this country, the young people.
I love that. I love that. Maybe as we come to a conclusion, Irene, for you, what skills and knowledge, in your perspective, do you think we haven't really delved into when it comes to the fight against corruption internally?
You know, my mom always reminds me that you should know your values, have values within you. So if I know I can't do this, I won't do it. I can't sleep with a man in order to get something from them. I won't do it, because corruption is affecting us so much, in that almost most of us think that in order to get something we have to put in something, which isn't good. So the first thing is we should know our values.
What are your values?
What are your values? That means you shouldn't do something that you're not meant to do. Yeah, you shouldn't be minimized by anything. And also knowing yourself. You should know yourself. Know yourself, know the, how can I say it? Know the perfections you have, and know the strength and the weaknesses you have. So if you know I can't do this, yeah, you can try some other way, because if a door doesn't open for you, that means it's not your door. You have to try another way to gain something. And also you must work hard. You have to be determined and also passionate about what you do. As you say that people are watching us.
People are watching.
So whenever you are given a job, anything, even though the payment is very low, let us be committed to work hard. You know, my dad always told me that when you are given something, work so hard, in that you're working for God. Do not work for the person who's seeing you. Work so hard so that the God in heaven will reward you. You know, there is this traffic man who was rewarded.
I saw him.
He was rewarded. You know, he was working so much.
In the rain.
In the rain. He was so passionate about what he's doing. Actually, he wasn't working for payment, but he was working for God, in that God saw what he was doing, and also people were watching him, and that he was rewarded. Not through payment, but he was rewarded so bigly. So for that case, we should be passionate about what we do.
I think that's the best example of people always watching. That story of the policeman really touched my heart when I saw it, actually. So as we conclude, Dr. Patricia, any final words as we say goodbye?
As we say goodbye, I think it's important for us to when we reflect on this driving the change we are talking about from within, it's not only about the implementation of laws and policies like I had talked about, or strategies, but it's about cultivating that change from within ourselves as individuals, the individual who implements the laws, who implements the policies, who works in those different institutions. We need to have a commitment to integrity, to accountability and transparency. Because when we get to harness the local insights by empowering individuals, then we are able to foster a culture of integrity, a culture of openness and responsibility. And this will help us create this robust movement or framework in the fight against corruption. And ultimately, real change will occur when the fight against corruption becomes a collective endeavor where everybody owns the responsibility and takes action. And it is also rooted in values, like Sharon has just said. It's rooted in values and the commitment of individuals, and also the communities must get involved. Because even this story of the policeman, nobody would have
Bothered.
If someone did not take the
Video.
or caption whatever it is that was going on. So I think it's a shared responsibility. So I urge the young people out there, let's join the war against corruption. It could be by taking that clip, by rewarding someone for social responsibility, or you've seen someone taking a bribe and you want to expose it, you can share that, or you can walk to our offices and report to the Inspectorate of Government. We will sanction that case and we'll investigate it and bring that person to book. Thank you very much. Have a blessed evening.
All right. Thank you so much for joining me today. I've had a fantastic, fun time with you all. Allow me to say bye-bye. See you again next week, same time, same place, right here on UBC. Have a fantastic week. Bye-bye.